everyone, welcome to YesterKitchen. I'm Jill, and today is all about the pineapple upside down cake. I love it. I hope you do too, because it is just fabulous. This golden cake with the brown sugar and the pineapples and those cherries, and by the time you're done, it is adorable. And I'm going to teach you how to make an adorable cake, and it's really easy too. But before we do that, we've got to get to the history. So let's talk about the pineapple upside down cake. But before we talk about the pineapple upside down cake, we need to talk about the upside down cake, because this is before pineapple in a can even existed. And actually, the roots of upside down cake can be traced way back to the Middle Ages, but that's a little too far back for me. So we're going to start in the 1800s, where people did make a lot of upside down cakes, but instead of pineapple, they used cherries or apples, and I bet it was pretty good. But instead of an oven, they cooked on the stove in a cast iron skillet. And it's just a perfect vehicle for baking because it's so thick that the bottom really doesn't burn. And iron really distributes heat really well. And it's also great for self-defense if you need it. So back then, ovens, if you had one in your house, they weren't that great. They were just starting and the temperature wasn't always right and you really couldn't rely on it. Today, an oven is a baker's best friend, but back then, stovetop was a baker's best friend. So people made these cakes and they were awesome. And then we kind of float along in history. So I'm gonna put my copper skillet, why do I keep calling it copper? Cast iron skillet over there so we can talk about our happy little pineapple upside down cake. But at least now you have a little history of the upside down cake. So in 1901, there was a man named, wait for it, Jim Dole. We're already coming full circle. And he owned the Hawaiian Pineapple Company. This was way before it was renamed to the Dole Company. So the Hawaiian Pineapple Company was in Hawaii, sold pineapples, and in 1901, Jim Dole started canning and mass producing and marketing his pineapples. And it really helped business because then people, all the pineapples, most of them were in Hawaii, and to get them, they were maybe a little expensive. And then to cut a pineapple and everything, it was just, I don't know, it was a pain for some people. So this just revolutionized his business. And I'm gonna tell you more about the pineapple upside down cake, but first we're gonna get our recipe started. This is a super easy recipe. And actually, if you have your cast iron skillet, you can make it in that. You're gonna use the same exact recipe, and I'll just get to a different cooking time when we get to it. But this is just, you're gonna love this. You're gonna wanna make this like now. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a cake pan. I chose to use a cake pan because I wasn't sure how many of you had cast iron skillets. And this way, most of you can make this. And you know what? It works perfect. So here we have our cake pan. See that? We have 1/4 cup of butter in our cake pan, which is a half a stick. And we're gonna put it in the oven and we're gonna let it go just until it melts. So I'm gonna cut out, I'm gonna put my cake pan in the oven, I'm gonna let the butter melt, and we will be back and finish up, well, not finish up, but get this party started. We'll be back. And so we're back. Take a look. Our cake pan, which by the way is a 9-inch cake pan, has all the melted butter in it, and I realized I forgot to tell you the temperature. 350 for both melting the butter and baking the cake. Keep it easy, same all the way through. So I'm so happy we're baking. We haven't baked yet. Well, we've baked casseroles, but it's nothing like baking a cake. And don't worry, we're gonna get into the Pillsbury bake-off one of these days. So I've got plenty for you. But for today, pineapple upside down cake. So let's get started. So here we have our melted butter in our 9-inch cake pan. Forgot to tell you that part too, so I'm telling you that part now. And then you're gonna add 2/3 cup of brown sugar. When you measure it, you know to pack in the sugar in the measuring scoop before you use it because brown sugar is so fluffy and you really want a full 2/3 cup. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take our brown sugar and we're gonna put it all over this butter because everything's better with butter and everything's better with sugar. So, in it goes. I'm gonna spread it around because Just don't burn your fingers. You want it just, all over the place. Okay, now, here comes our happy little pineapple. See, I just have a can of ringed pineapple. And when I was a kid, I like to do this. But today we're gonna put it in a cake. So you're gonna take your pineapple and you're just gonna put those rings all the way around and starting to get that classic pineapple upside down cake look. And we're gonna fit them all in. One there and one here. We're gonna make these guys fit because there we go. One in the center. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Now, of course, you can't have a pineapple upside down cake without your maraschino cherries. So, you're gonna take these cherries. Yes, take the stems off. Okay, we're gonna take our cherries and put them in the center of every little pineapple ring. And then, what I like to do is I like to go a little bit overboard. So then I'm going to put the cherries, I just cannot talk today, around here. So it just looks even cuter because, desserts are the final end of a meal and you want to end them on a super high note. So you might as well go cute. Okay, now we're going to mix our batter, but before we mix our batter, let me tell you a little bit about how this cake came to be. Okay, so we talked about Jim Dole. We talked about how he started canning pineapples. So he motored along for about 25 years with a great pineapple business. And then in 1925, he decided to have a recipe contest featuring pineapple recipes. You're way ahead of me. So he actually assembled this amazing group of judges. Like, this was top notch. There were judges from the Fannie Farmer Cooking School. And if you don't know what that was a big deal. That was like, I don't know, cordon bleu of the day, although cordon bleu existed. There were also judges from McCall's Magazine. I'm sorry, I got brown sugar on me. And there were judges from Good Housekeeping. So big names, really important, big deal. So he got 60,000 recipes that were entered in this contest. And guess what? I'm gonna leave you hanging while we're gonna make the batter. So now we're gonna work on our batter. So we're gonna take our trusty mixing bowl and we're gonna take our pan and kind of scoot it out of the way. Get rid of that cast iron pan. And there we go. One mixing bowl. To that, you're gonna dump everything in. Like I said, this is an easy recipe. So we're gonna start with 1 1/3 cup flour. And a lot of times when you bake, you do the flour and the baking soda and the salt separately. Not this one, and it turns out great. 1 cup of sugar. And then we have 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. Here it goes. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to add a little more pineapple. We need 3/4 cup liquid. And if you want to make it all milk, make it all milk. But what I like to do is I like to add 1/2 cup of milk. And 1/4 cup of pineapple juice right from the can where I got the pineapples from. It just adds a little extra pineapple something into the batter. Then we've got 1 egg. Bloop. I don't know. It sounds like an egg noise. And the last thing is 1/3 cup of shortening. I gotta pause and talk about shortening for a second. My beautiful daughter is a registered dietitian, and she told me that shortening is not good for you. But Megan, I love you, baby, but it's history, and we used shortening back then. And it's only 1/3 cup, and you don't make this every day. So please forgive me. I love you. We're gonna add 1/3 cup of shortening into our mix. And then we're gonna mix it. I'm gonna shut up while we mix because I really don't think you wanna hear me talk over a very loud blender, but I've I've got my old school beater. Yes, I have a KitchenAid, but this is just easy. So we're gonna time this for 3 minutes. You wanna mix it for the full 3 minutes so the batter gets really beautiful and just happy. And I'm gonna do something that is very not 1950s. Ready? Alexa, set a timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes, starting now.
Okay, starting now. Let's start mixing. I'm gonna stop talking. All eyes on the bowl. Okay, we're done. So what also I neglected to let you know is that you want to mix it on high, and every little bit, like a minute, like once or twice, just push down the edges as you saw me do. Oh, please stand up. Okay, so now we have our batter. We're gonna take our batter, we're gonna bring back our beautiful little cake, or the beginnings of the cake. First, I'm going to tell you what's going on with Jim Dole and his recipe contest. So he put out the word, we need pineapple recipes. Big names on the judges. He got 60,000 entries. 2,500 of them were for pineapple upside down cake. And he was like, whoa. So he decided to create an ad just talking about how pineapple upside down cake brought in so many recipes for his contest. I mean, there was still the contest, but that was a huge advertisement that came out of it. And you know what? Pineapple upside down cake, boom, soared. And everyone made it and everyone loved it. It really became popular in the 1950s and 60s. And because, you know, Hawaii became a state and everyone was celebrating and doing tropical and Polynesian, and just you wait, I've got some Polynesian recipes and history for you. But for now, back to our beautiful cake. Take the batter, pour it on the cake. See, it just keeps getting easier and easier. I'm gonna get all this batter out. Whoop. And you really want to make sure you get it all out because you're going to need all of it. Whoa, I'm sorry, I'm turning it towards me and that's not helping you at all. Okay. And you want to just kind of smooth it around the top. Just like that. And then we're going to put our beautiful cake into the oven for 55 minutes. And then you're going to test it to make sure that, you know, it's done. So for those of you that don't know how to test a cake, it's super easy. You need one of these two things, either a metal skewer, you know, for shish kebab, or a bamboo skewer, a super long toothpick. You can also use a toothpick, but you just gotta be really careful that you don't burn yourself because, you know, they're little guys. So what you do is you're gonna take this or this at the time after it's done, after your timer goes off, and you're gonna stick it right in the center of the cake because cakes bake from the outside in. So you want the part where, you know, it hasn't really baked the longest. And you don't wanna go all the way to the bottom because then you're gonna get those hot pineapples and sugar and that's not gonna give you a good reading. So you're gonna wanna go right in the center, about halfway down. Comes out clean, you're done. If it doesn't, if it still has some batter on it, put it back in the oven for maybe like 2 minutes and just keep checking it. Because if you keep it in there too long, you're gonna wind up over baking and you have a dry cake, and dry cakes are just sad. So keep an eye on it. So we're gonna put this in an oven 55 minutes. Oh, for you cast iron users, you only need between 30 and 40 minutes because it just heats up so nicely. So after 30 minutes, start testing your cake and keep going until it's done. All right, so we're gonna put this in the oven and I will see you in about an hour and we're gonna talk about inverting the cake and finish up the show. And then you can go make your own. See you in a few. Hey, we're back and our cake is gorgeous. But before I show you, I just wanted to take a minute and thank you for your support. Our channel is growing and your support means so much. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. and like the videos and just give me comments. I love to read your comments. And if you would, share the videos so more people can find out about retro food history. And now, let's take a look at this cake. Isn't that gorgeous? It's just beautiful brown, and let me show you. We have our little skewer, and we go right in the middle, about halfway down, pull it out, and look at that, perfectly clean. So our cake is done. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do, and by the way, my cake kind of finished at about 50 minutes. It kind of varies. So start checking at 50 minutes. Unless you're doing your cast iron skillet, then start checking at 30. And when your cake's done, it's done. So first what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a standard knife when it first comes out of the oven. And you're gonna take the back end of the knife and stick it down the side and just kind of work your way around the outside. Just like that, whoop. Because that way, well, I'm gonna get in front of the camera, but I have no choice. That way it will release from the sides. Okay, now, is everyone ready for the flip? Don't worry, you'll be fine. Okay, you're definitely gonna need pot holders for this one. First, you're gonna take your serving platter. I've got this beautiful little serving platter, and you're gonna put it right on top of your cake. Just like that. Then the gloves come on. And you're pretty much gonna hold it on the top and the bottom and flip it super fast. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So, we'll bring it here. Have this little trivet. I'm gonna get out of the way. Okay. You want to really, really carefully lift it up and turn it upside down. Then, are you ready? Oh, I already overshot it. Ready? Flip. That's it. Now we're gonna go back to this camera. Sorry, these are so sticky. Are you ready? Are you ready? You're gonna slowly slide it off. Look at that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. There is your pineapple upside down cake. Now what you want to do is you want to let this sit for about 15-20 minutes because it's super hot, and hot cake is not the easiest to cut. But since I'm not going to wait around another 20 minutes and make you sit around, we're going to just cut a piece. You want to use a serrated knife, because that way you can cut through the fibers of the pineapple. If you just use a plain knife, your pineapple will start slipping and sliding, and you don't want that. So, look at that. It's so beautiful. Okay, so we're going to we'll go right between two pineapple slices. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's so hot, I want to just not mess it up. There's one, two, and remember, please let your cake rest. Don't try this at home. Look at that. That is just one gorgeous piece of cake. So have your dinner party and end with dessert. We don't do enough dessert anymore. It's time for dessert. Make your pineapple upside down cake. It's so easy and your guests will be impressed, and it is delicious. Tell the story of Dole. Enjoy the time. And as always, thank you so much for joining us, and history never tasted so good.